They came at dawn. Not Earth's dawn, but the blood-orange rise over Tharsis Prime, humanity's second jewel, the first true child of Earth among the stars. For 2 centuries, the colony had stood as a beacon of human progress. Green domes spanning red deserts, oceans reclaimed through engineering miracles, and cities that sang the anthem of survival through ingenuity. But on that day, the sky screamed. The Zeran Dominion arrived without warning. Their ships dark and sleek, crescent-shaped titans of war. They spoke no words. No declaration, no demand. Only a single transmission flooded every channel across Tharsis Prime. Kneel. Then came the bombardment. The capital city of Novaterra was vaporized in a column of white plasma that reached from orbit to core. The shockwave flattened everything within 200 kilometers. Millions died before they even understood who their attackers were. The orbital defense grid fired back. Noble, desperate, but futile. The Zerans had come prepared. They called it pacification by fire. They burned hospitals, schools, the biodomes that fed the colony. The Zerans hunted the survivors who fled underground. Children, scientists, families, broadcasting their screams across the system as trophies. They wanted to teach humanity a lesson. They wanted Earth on its knees. When it was over, only ash remained. And in that silence, the Zeran warlord, Archregent Cathar, turned to his bridge officers and declared, "Let them kneel to their weakness. The humans have forgotten the price of defiance." And across the Dominion, the broadcasts played, the Empire celebrating victory, mocking humanity's fall, parading the destruction of Tharsis Prime as proof that Earth's age had ended. They called us soft, civilized, predictable. They believed mercy had made us fragile. They believed wrong. The Empire's mockery for the next 72 hours. The galaxy echoed with laughter. News feeds across alien sectors carried the same message. The Dominion had humbled the humans. A disciplinary strike, they called it. They even released educational footage to show how swiftly Earth's colonies could burn. At the Imperial Court, nobles toasted to Cathar's brilliance. Humanity, they said, was always too sentimental for the void. The Zeran academies began rewriting galactic history, declaring that the age of Earth was a brief flicker, a civilization that flew too high on borrowed wings. On the Dominion's border worlds, soldiers painted the Terran flag on their armor, and then set it aflame. They mocked Earth's diplomats, called them weak-voiced traitors, and jeered that no human war fleet dared cross Zeran space again. And through it all, Earth said nothing. No statement from the Terran Council, no movement from the unified fleet, no retaliation, just silence. The galaxy mistook that silence for fear, but those who remembered Earth's wars, the old ones, whispered differently. They said, "When Earth is silent, run." The silence before the storm on the 4th day after Tharsis burned, the stars began to move. Deep space observatories across neutral sectors reported gravitational anomalies near Sol. Then, communications from the Terran colonies abruptly encrypted to level Omega, a code unseen. Since the Titan Wars, the Orion Relay picked up fragments of transmissions. Command priority override. Terran Fleet Command active. Fleet Group Aegis preparing for full mobilization. By order of the Council, Operation Iron Wake initiated. The Zerans laughed again. They thought humanity was preparing another diplomatic protest, another plea before the Galactic Council, but then the wormholes opened, 12 of them, simultaneously. Across the edges of Zeran space, dark rifts tore open, spitting out shadows, ships the size of cities, hulls blackened by stealth composites, engines burning with blue-white fury. No insignias, no lights, no broadcasts, just cold, terrible precision. Every Zeran outpost along the frontier went dark within hours. Communications jammed, satellites silenced, and fleets vanished without trace. On the Zeran High Command's holomaps, entire sectors blinked out, replaced by a single message from Terran Command, pulsing in blood-red letters. We stood tall. And that's when the laughter stopped. 4. The awakening of Earth in orbit above Earth. For the first time in generations, the entire Terran Armada deployed. 2,000 warships, 20 supercarriers, 8 dreadnoughts, the Atlas-class Leviathans, whose reactors could power small suns. The Sol system became a fortress. The moon's surface glowed with launching platforms. And Mars, once a quiet world of miners and botanists, erupted with the thunder of mobilization. And at the heart of it all stood the Fleet Marshal, Admiral Reyna Vale, survivor of Tharsis Prime. Her voice carried across every ship, Every channel, every human soul, they wanted us broken. They wanted us silent. But we are humanity, forged from dust, tempered by fire. The Empire wanted our knees, and now they will learn how Earth stands. Then, the Armada burned for war. The storm breaks. The first target was the Zeran forward fleet over the world of Dravian 9. 37 warships strong, guarding a resource planet. They saw the Terrans jump in, a dozen ships at most, and laughed again. Then the Terrans opened fire, not with plasma or missiles, but with kinetic lances. Tungsten rods accelerated to near light speed. They tore through Zeran shields like paper, slicing capital ships in half before their sensors registered the attack. Dravian 9 was liberated in 16 minutes. Across Zeran space, humanity's vengeance spread like wildfire. Every assault precise, every strike coordinated. No prisoners, no speeches, just annihilation. The TFS Eisenhower breached the orbital fortress of Kale Prime by warping directly through its defense ring, converting its own mass into a relativistic weapon. The explosion lit the upper atmosphere for 3 days. The Europa Division deployed drop troops on Vornak, the Empire's largest shipyard moon. 3 million human soldiers descended like fire, clad in powered armor that made them look like walking storms. They fought without words, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. When the smoke cleared, the shipyards were gone. So were the cities. So was the moon de Wanseo. The Empire's Shattersarch, Regent Cathar, watched from the safety of his palace on Zera Prime as his empire unraveled. He had underestimated them, thought them primitive, emotional, too divided to wage total war. But Earth didn't just wage war. Earth became war. They didn't broadcast their victories. They didn't boast or gloat. Every Zeran broadcast channel that mocked them was overwritten with the same cold message. For Tharsis. And then, silence. The Dominion's fleets tried to regroup. They tried to deploy their vaunted planetary shields. They tried to beg for terms, but Earth had no interest in terms. The Terran fleets moved like ghosts. Each strike coordinated through an AI network so advanced it predicted enemy movement before the Zerans even issued orders. In a matter of weeks, half the Dominion's fleet was gone. Their capital worlds burned. Zera Prime itself, the jewel of their empire, faced the wrath of the TFS Nemesis, a dreadnought so vast it carried its own gravitational distortion field. When it entered orbit, tides rose, cities cracked, and comms filled with one last human transmission: kneel. The irony was poetic. The Zerans tried to surrender. The Nemesis didn't reply. Its main cannon fired once. A beam brighter than dawn engulfed the planet. When the light faded, Zera Prime was no more severed. The galaxy watches from the neutral zones and outer sectors. The galaxy watched in horror. Species that once mocked humanity now shut their channels, their ambassadors hiding behind closed doors. Merchants scrubbed human weakness from their records. Scholars began rewriting history again, this time to remind their children never to provoke Earth. Even the Galactic Council, that hollow assembly of cowardice, convened an emergency session. But by then, it didn't matter. Human fleets were everywhere, patrolling, cleansing, restoring what was lost. And yet they took no spoils. They didn't conquer new territory or enslave survivors. They simply burned what had wronged them. Then they left. Planets scarred by the Zerans found humanitarian convoys in orbit, Terran relief ships, doctors, engineers, food, medicine. Humanity rebuilt the galaxy they had just avenged. The message was clear. We are not conquerors, but we are not victims either. The whispered aftermath months later, when the smoke faded and stars reclaimed their peace, a rumor spread across the surviving empires that somewhere, beyond the edges of known space, humanity had built a monument on the ruins of Tharsis Prime, a black obelisk reaching toward the heavens, engraved with a single inscription: "We stood tall." Pilgrims and alien and human alike came to see it. None spoke above a whisper, and in the shadow of that monument, survivors of the Dominion, broken and scattered, told stories in fear, of ships that moved like ghosts, of eyes that glowed red in the dark, of a vengeance that came without warning and left no survivors. They said the Terrans had unleashed their true fleet, the ones hidden in the dark between stars, built in secret during centuries of peace, a fleet so vast it could blot out constellations. Some said it was myth, others prayed it was, because if Earth ever rose in anger again, the stars themselves would tremble. The lesson of Earth in time: the galaxy rebuilt, New treaties were signed. The words Zeran Dominion became a cautionary tale in every military academy. But whenever a new empire grew too proud, too cruel, too confident in its strength, someone would whisper the old warning. The empire wanted their knees, but Earth stood tall. And in the dark corners of space, that phrase became more than a warning. It became a creed. Because Huma,